Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back once again to Today in African History with Baba Shaka. I'm Baba Shaka, and today is August 9th, 2021, and it was on this date, back in 1987, that Reginald F. Lewis bought Beaches International Foods and became the wealthiest African from America. Now, Reginald F. Lewis was born on December 7th, 1942 in East Baltimore, Maryland, and grew up in a segregated Maryland. Now, despite the segregation, his neighborhood was considered a middle-class neighborhood, and he attended Dunbar High School where he played three sports. He was the quarterback on the football team, forward on basketball, and the shortstop for baseball. And as a testament of who he would grow up to be, he was also the team captain on all three teams. Reginald also became the vice president of his high school class, and luckily, he won a scholarship for football to attend Virginia State University, one of our HBCUs. However, a football injury derailed his hopes of playing professional football, and his attention turned towards his academics. Now, Reginald F. Lewis joined the Alpha Phi chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity as an undergraduate student, and he graduated with a degree in political science in 1965. That same year, Reginald participated in a program funded by the Rockefeller Foundation that helped him gain entry into Harvard Law School. And he was the only one in history to gain entry to the school without applying. So he didn't have to apply to Harvard, they came to apply to him. He graduated at school in 1968 with his Juris Doctorate. Now, after law school, he worked for a private mid-sized to large law firm located in New York City. The firm's name was Paul Weiss Rifkin Wharton Garrison LLP, and he stayed with them for a little over a year and then left 2 years later to start his own law firm on Wall Street with some other parties. He practiced law in the corporate field for 15 years before leaving to start on his journey that became what the world knows him for, a venture capitalist. Right. Mr. Lewis formed the TLC Group LP in 1983 after leaving the corporate law field. Using his contacts and his business sense, he then bought the first of two major business purchases that became million-dollar businesses. The first company was McCall Patent Company, which Mr. Lewis bought for $22.5 million. It was a home sewing patent business, and he raised $1 million and borrowed the rest from investors and investment banks to fund the $22.5 million price tag. 1 year after the purchase, the company was back in the black. By his becoming the helmsman, he freed up the company's capital, then repurposed the old machinery it had, hired his rivals to work for him within the company, and started to export his business outside of the country. He made McCall Patent Company a power to be reckoned with in the home sewing industry. He then sold the company for a profit for the investors who gave him the money to purchase it in the first place. Thus, he became known as a powerhouse in the venture capitalist business. Right. Now, the next major company Mr. Lewis bought was Beatrice International Foods. He paid $985 million and changed the name to TLC Beatrice. Now, that was one of the biggest purchases, acquisitions in the history of business in the United States. Now, Reggie Lewis, right? The company was known for selling snack drinks and grocery store items, and he became the first African from America to own and manage a major business of that scale. Now, to make the company viable, Mr. Lewis sold off some of the assets of the company and reinvested the money. The sale paid off and increased his profits by the end of the year to $18 billion. The next year, the company made a gain of $2.2 billion. Reginald F. Lewis' philanthropic interests are known by many around the country and probably around the world. Now, being interested in maintaining the education and history of African people in the United States, many of his projects are geared towards helping minorities, particularly those that are black. In 1987, he started the Reginald F. Lewis Foundation. This foundation funds grants for $110 million to various nonprofit programs and organizations. Giving back to those who gave to him seems to be his mantra. And he offered Howard University a grant of $1 million in the year 1988. And then the federal government then matched that award to increase the total amount to $2 million. The money was used to fund scholarships, fellowships, and also the sabbaticals for the faculty. To the law school he graduated from, Harvard Law School, he donated $3 million in 1992. They named a building after him. Now, wanting to see more of his history, Mr. Lewis wanted to support museums. In 2005, he began to support the Museum of African American Culture located in Baltimore. Now, there's one in D.C. on the National Mall, but he started funding one that's supposed to be located in Baltimore. And he gave that museum a grant of $5 million. It is also a Smithsonian affiliate, which adds to its prestige. Now, not to live his life alone, Reginald F. Lewis married Loida Nicholas, a Philippine woman with whom he had 2 daughters. Their names are Leslie Lewis and Christine Lewis. And upon his death, Loida Lewis took over his company and kept turning a profit as well as continued his philanthropy. Reginald F. Lewis left his name on many philanthropic interests. His wife and children continued the trend. You now have the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, the Reginald F. Lewis International Law Center at Harvard, and the Reginald F. Lewis College of Business, which is an AACSB accredited college. Go look that up. His children also continue to use his name to help fund and get funding from investors. There's the All-Star Code run by his daughter Christine, and his wife started the Lewis College Sorsogon City, which is in the Philippines, which she founded in her hometown. Now, let us not forget that the principal and current philanthropic venture to carry on his legacy, the first Reginald F. Lewis Fellowship for Law Teaching that began in 2019. The fellowship was for Harvard Law School from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. And the recipient received an annual stipend of $50,000 and also the chance to extend it for one additional year. The requirement is that you, however, have to live on campus for the duration of your fellowship. So you just can't be living off campus partying like that, right? Now, as evidenced by what I've shared, Reginald F. Lewis has funded and given many people the opportunities he tried to extend in his life via his capital venture investment. Because he was indeed a very smart man who uses smarts to raise others, right? So, I know this is a very short piece of Reginald Lewis. I encourage you to go and dig deeper into this incredible man and the things that he's done. The things that he continues to do from beyond the grave, okay? Now, once again, I'd like to thank all of our subscribers who continue to support our efforts here at Today in African History. For those of you who have not yet subscribed, this is a great time to hit that subscribe button just below there and lend us your much needed support. Please like and leave a comment down in the comment section. But most importantly, please share, especially with the young amongst us, because you and I both know this material is not taught in our schools. Now, to those of you who would like to become sponsors and contribute to this channel, you can do so through Cash App. We're currently in need of a new camera and some additional lighting. This is going to look better. You can Cash App us at hashtag Zulu Contributions. Okay, don't forget that's hashtag Zulu Contributions. So, until tomorrow, inshallah, this is Baba Shaka with Today in African History. Masalam.